Hello, hello. We are on the podcast, we're on YouTube, we're on IG Live. So we're going to see how we roll with all of the tech and hopefully we get through everything without something dying. But I want to talk about signing on Dream Mastermind clients because this is a conversation I've been having with so many people in my world at the moment around not just signing anyone into long-term mentorship, but dream high level clients. So it's one thing to take on everyone and anyone. It's another thing to bring on dream humans who you're just obsessed with. And I feel like it's so important being that it is a long-term space. You want to have people that you're obsessed with, they're obsessed with you, and the space is really expansive as well. So I'm going to be running through both mindset and also strategy around what I play with from the first time I launched a mastermind, which was 2022, I believe. And I took on anyone that came along. And although so many of those conversations were incredible, they were expansive, we had crazy results, things look so different now in terms of the people that are coming in terms of the way that I'm attacking it with both mindset and strategy as well. So at the start, I was literally charging, I think it was like $200 for a mastermind with full complete access, like direct access, fully I'm in your back pocket kind of vibes. And like I said, I would take on anyone that came along, and I did fill them pretty quickly because of the brand that I'd built at the time for my first coaching brand, which looks a little bit differently now. Then what happened was I was like, I'm so done with any type of conversations that are coming in. I really want to be able to control the frequency of the space, the conversations that are happening, the results that are happening. And most importantly, I was like, I really want to go deeper with people. There was cool results and surface level combos, but I was like, there is so much like untapped potential that I want to play with. And so I increased the price, which was pretty delusional of me at the time, going from a couple $100s to a couple of $1,000. And then I implemented an application. I started saying no to people, and I started attracting and bringing in my core group of people that I was just obsessed with, like the best people ever, and really vibed with each other as well, which was cool. So let's run through some mindset stuff. I've got notes to the right. So first thing was that I continued moving even when it seemed like no one was listening. So currently we are in sort of launch currently still for the Intuitive Savage Mastermind. And I, not too long ago, started putting out a few podcast episodes and some emails and things to people just mentioning the Intuitive Savage Mastermind. And I sell a lot on Instagram stories. That's like my number one way. But I was like, let's just trickle it into the podcast, into the email list. And I had projected it's not really working as much. Like I was like, I'm seeing some conversations happen through current clients and through back-end DMs, but I'm not necessarily seeing it work. Then comes along a beautiful dream client, and she said, hey, I've been listening to the podcast and obsessed with it for the last couple of weeks, couple of months. And I just read your email about the mastermind and I want in. Like, how do I get in? Let me sign the contract. And I was like, wow, that's crazy, because that specific email that I sent got so many people unsubscribing from it. I had so many people unsubscribe and leave that email because I was so specific in who I was speaking to. And imagine if I didn't send that email because I was like, no one's listening, it's not really working, like let's change strategies. There is always someone listening, whether you can see it or not. And that's the most important thing. I can tell you from signing so many clients between not even just my 2 coaching brands, but also my other high level brand as well, where I was signing 24K clients. They come out of nowhere. And I can tell you that. Yes, there's back end sales and current clients ascending and things like that. But majority of the time, people will DM you out of nowhere and say, hey, I'm obsessed. I want in, like, send me details. I'm ready to go. And that was exactly the same with this client. I had seen her in my world in terms of like following, liking a few things like that. And I saw her name, recognized her name, but we hadn't spoken before. She hadn't bought from me before. And she was like, hey, I'm obsessed. Like, let's go. And so right now, if you're sitting there being like, oh my God, no one's listening, it's not working, I need to change and chop and change strategies 1,000 times, it doesn't matter. There's people there. Show up for them. Like, stopping yourself just because you think people don't care. For example, that email where I had people unsubscribe, which happens every time I dial in my messaging, I lose people, and it's perfect, right? Because I move people in even closer. But every time you hold yourself back by being like, it's not working, I'm just gonna like stop, you're letting those people down who are actually sitting on the edge of their seat like, I'm so freaking keen, I want in. So that's the first thing. I just continue moving no matter what. Like, I don't care who is or isn't listening. I don't project on my audience or anything anymore, especially, and I see it time and time again. And I get to see that gap and catch myself where I'm like, it's always working. Like, just move. The compounding effect is taking place. And I've seen that literally since the first time I launched a mastermind up until our current launch, which is really cool. The second thing, which is pretty similar, but I keep selling no matter what across the time space of launching the mastermind. So last round that I did last year, someone jumped in so last minute. But so what people do is they launch the mastermind, they see no one join for a week, 2 weeks, a couple of weeks, and they go quiet. Or they sell it, they get people in, and then they go, oh, doors are about to open or close, or it's about to start. I'm just going to stop selling it. Like, that must be it. Keep selling it. Keep selling it, because people jump in when they want to jump in. So stop projecting on the audience being like, oh, they haven't bought yet, they're never going to buy. Or everyone's bought, everyone's heard about it. That's it. That's it. Pack up shop. The next thing that I did was I just connect with my vision and my why of the mastermind, which I feel like this isn't spoken about enough, but in terms of devotion to the offer that you're bringing out, it makes such a massive difference really naturally when you are so connected to what you're doing, what you are wanting to help people with, like the impact that you want to create. That devotion is felt by people on the other side. And this is a huge piece when selling specifically long-term spaces. People are buying into you. They're buying into you, the vibe, the energy, the frequency, so much more than they're buying into the strategy, the space, the results. This is especially for high-level buyers. They're doing the strategy, right? The strategy's happening, but what they're buying into is a different frequency, a different identity, a different energy. And so by you staying so connected to your offer and what you're actually selling, people are going to feel that. But when you're so focused on numbers and filling it and price and what people are paying or not paying or saying or not saying, or whether people are ghosting you in the DMs or unsubscribing from your emails, like when that's the only thing that you're focusing on from a victim mentality, how are you ever going to sign high-level clients from that space? Right? There's moments where it's like, okay, let's actually look at the data. If it's not working a certain strategy, cool. Let's look at the data, let's shift. But so many people take it and they use it as a way to actually stay really, really safe and not have to keep selling it. And so when you can actually connect really, really deeply to your offer, you're not focused on filling the space and all of those bits and pieces that I just mentioned. You're focused on the impact. You're focused on your vision. You're building out the space for what you want it to be. So for example, the Intuitive Savage Mastermind right now, I'm just like, it's like me and the Intuitive Savage Mastermind is just like in a relationship. Like the last couple of months, it is on my mind all the time, and not from a place of like, oh my God, I need numbers. I need validation. I need engagement. I need whatever. But it's from a space of like, how can I make this better? How can I go from good to extraordinary? How can I really serve my people that are moving in? How can I dial in the messaging even more so that dream client on the other side is like, boom, like you are for me, like you're the one. How can I create like workshops that are really going to help, not just fill in space, not just extra fluff, but actually really help my clients? How can I deepen what the Intuitive Savage is, like what we stand for, how we move? And we had our intro call this morning where I was going through like, hey, this is almost like the commandments of the Intuitive Savage. Like, this is who you are. This is how we behave in the world. This is how we react and respond, because this label that you are embodying, like you get to wear that with so much pride. And me being able to do this work within this launch that we're currently in right now, it makes me so excited, and I'm so connected, and I'm so in it. Whereas I feel like what people do is they move themselves out of the launch because they're so focused on soothing their ego and getting validated and feeling really good. And that is only going to do a disservice to you, your sales, and your clients on the other side as well. So having that devotion to be really connected with it, having the grit to keep selling it, even when, like, no matter what the timing is, right? Not projecting on the audience, and then being really delusional where it's like, I don't care right now if you've never launched a mastermind before. You can go and launch one. I don't care if you've only been selling them for a couple of $100 and you know that it's time to increase the price. Like, go and increase the price and be delusional in trusting that. Why wouldn't people move in based on who you are? Like, why wouldn't that happen? And so the delusion, the grit, and the devotion has been huge, massive over the last couple of years selling masterminds, which is what I teach inside She Is Limitless. The traits of a leader, so that you can do these things, right? So that you can keep selling, so that you can stay connected to your work, which is so undervalued and underrated. To have the grit to keep moving, the delusion to just believe that it's going to happen. These are all things that people overlook. They're like, give me the how, give me the strategy. I'm like, go and become the human and watch what will happen. So that's a bit in terms of mindset. Strategy wise, I've done a bit of both in terms of no application and application. When I did no application, I had anyone and everyone coming in, which at the start, building phases of business, like, it worked, like whatever. We had amazing conversations and it was great, but wanting to sign high level dream clients and have a frequency of the conversations, I think having an application is really cool, so that you can get a vibe of who they are and where they're wanting to go, because that's going to make or break what actually goes down inside the mastermind. So I do like having an application for my masterminds at the moment. That's just feeling really good for me. And it also gives them a really cool idea of your expectations within the mastermind as well, which is really, really important. So if you're mentioning like, what's your crazy, wild, delusional dreams, and like, what's the money? Like, let's talk money. Like, what do you want to make and what life do you want to live? If someone is just in it for like a quick cash injection and like a faceless brand, they're not going to feel connected to that. And so they're likely not even going to apply. So the application is almost like a filter in itself without you having to directly have these long combos in the DMs. The application is already going to repel people, which is really cool. I'm also finding that DM conversations and behind the scenes sales is almost coming before the application at the moment. So having conversations in the DMs, people just reaching out, and then also behind the scenes sales as well. So I had a 2-week Telegram experience mentorship space with one of my incredible clients. She's like freaking, you just wait, 6 months time, holy guacamole, it's going to be insane. And we had the most incredible 2 weeks. And I said to her before the 2 weeks was up, I said, you belong inside the Intuitive Savage Mastermind. Like, that's your next step. That's where you need to be. And so many people don't do that. Like, so many people think, oh, my client's already paid me once. Like, they're not going to want to pay me again or pay the highest or next price or whatever it might be. They are your hottest audience. Your current clients are your hottest audience. They're obsessed with you. They love being in your world. So go and sell to them. Go and say, you belong here. You belong here. Go here next. It's the simplest, easiest way to have people move into your world. Cool thing on that too, she actually said, hey, I'm already in a mastermind. I've still got payments coming out for the mastermind, and I'm just going to have to wait a hot sec to see if I can shuffle it. And I said, cool. And what did I do for the next 7 days? Nothing. Nothing. I didn't chase. I didn't follow. I didn't go, oh my God, I wonder if she's going to jump in. I wonder if she's not. I hope she does, blah, blah, blah. None of it. No head noise, no chasing, nothing. 7 days later, hey, let's work together. Let's go. Send me the link. The way that you are behaving is either going to attract or repel a high-level client. And I can tell you from being a high-level client, which you likely are as well, you don't like being chased and hunted down. You're a self-led human who's going to make the decision when you want to make the decision. Your clients are the same. So remove the head noise, remove the chasing, and watch how different the type of people are that come along, and especially the DM conversations that go down. I mostly sell on Instagram stories. I do some potty and some email list, as you've heard. And what's cool is that now I've got really cool evidence where it's like, wow, it actually is working really well. Like, let's send it even more. And in those spaces, I only speak to dream high level clients. And I only speak to them. And even as simple as, I don't question whether they are that person in terms of my copy. I speak directly to them. I hope you have a pen and paper, because I'm giving you like a whole freaking like 10 trainings worth of info. In terms of the copy for when I am selling to my dream client, I don't say things like, this might be a good fit for you, because I'm speaking to the person who is the perfect fit, right? I'm not speaking to an audience where I'm like, you might be the right fit. I'm like, I'm speaking directly to the person who is. I don't say like, if you're the right fit, like, does this sound like you? I'm 99.9% of the time, I'm like, you are this kind of person. You want this in life, this like blah, blah, blah. And I speak directly to that one dream client, and it works really, really well. The next thing is that it's a signature offer in terms of a mastermind. I used to throw out any type of space and there was no real direction. And that's the hardest thing when it comes to selling a mastermind. If there isn't a space, it's kind of hard to tell what the benefit is from moving in, apart from like community and like come and get support and brainstorm together. I actually find it's so much easier to sell a mastermind, which is quite broad in terms of within a mastermind space. For me, for my like home signature spaces, we talk about a lot of different things, right? We talk about brand and content and sales and launching and messaging and mindset and beliefs and traits. Like we talk about a lot of different things, but having a core direction can be a really beautiful way for you to be able to sell even more powerfully. A cool way to do this is through identity. So actually positioning it as you will become this person can be a really cool way to actually structure the mastermind in terms of messaging and like sales and sales copy. So for example, when you move into the Intuitive Savage Mastermind, you become the Intuitive Savage. And that's why the girls have moved in. I sent an onboarding questionnaire out at the start before they started so that I could get an idea for who they are, for the moving parts and all of the things. And they said, hold me to a really high standard. And that's why they moved in. They wanted to be held to a standard, to be called forward and to become the Intuitive Savage. But if I just opened a mastermind where I was like, come and join the mastermind, it's quite like, why? Why you? Why not that other person? There's nothing really that people can attach their identity, values, beliefs to. So being able to actually create a direction for the mastermind has been a really cool thing. And I just like selling it like that as well. Lastly, in terms of strategy for selling masterminds, is I like to control the frequency of the space. Obviously, the first way to do that is the people that are moving in, which is what this whole conversation is about, right? The people that are moving in is going to really dictate the frequency, the feeling, the energy of the space. Being a 6-month container, that needs to be a priority. Because if it's not a priority, 6 months is a long time and it's so easy to fizzle out where people are like, oh, I'm not feeling this anymore, and then not want to be in it anymore. It's so important that you get to control that frequency by controlling who's moving in, which is why the application's important. DM conversations is important to know who they are, what they really want, what that really looks like, to make sure they align with you, your brand, your values, your beliefs. But the other thing that so many people struggle with is actually saying no to people. So I've had so many people apply for masterminds before where they're like, hey, I want to pay in full, like 4K, 5K, 6K. And I've said no because of the frequency of the space, because they aren't the perfect fit. And it's from a space of I would be doing a disservice to them by them coming in and not being aligned. I would be doing a disservice to myself being the facilitator, and I'd be doing a disservice to everyone else who's within that space who's already joined. And so actually being able to say no to people is so powerful, but people don't do it. And so this is your huge permission slip. Like, you actually get to decide, who do I want to work with? Who is that high level dream client? And you get to say, hey, this space isn't for you. I kind of think of it like there's all little clubs within like a big hall. And I'm like, we're not for you because you're not going to thrive here. I bet you'd be perfect over there. Like, that is exactly what I want to hear as a client. And it works so well. So no matter how much they're willing to pay you, no matter how bad you feel, saying no is a leadership trait that you need to be able to have so that you can control that frequency of the space. So that's everything currently in terms of strategy and mindset for selling mastermind, signing on dream high level clients. And I'm so excited to see everyone else who moves into the Intuitive Savage Mastermind as well. Like I said, we had our first call this morning, and I just love masterminds. I feel like they're the most expansive space out of any coaching offer. because being able to not only be in there with the mentor, you also get to be in there and hear the perspectives from every single other person. And you only know this much. You come into a mastermind and it's like, oh my gosh, my brain is exploding because I didn't even know to ask that question. I didn't even know that possibility existed. And so I'm so pumped for the Intuitive Savage Mastermind. So if you loved this episode, I would love to hear from you in the comments. If you're on YouTube or Spotify, or just DM me and be like, oh my gosh, episode 190, whatever we're up to, was insane. I loved it. Give me your takeaways. And also make sure to join Growth Gang First Class, because the broadcast hears even more from me. They hear like extra sort of behind the scenes stuff, and you can also give me like topic requests and just come and be a part of the fam. So I'll drop all of the links into the show notes. The IG live will be on my feed as well, and I will chat to you in the next one. Bye everyone.